The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn gleamed like black mirrors under the sodium lamps, and I was running, heart pounding, lungs burning, from the life I'd built brick by fragile brick. A cab horn blared as I darted across Flatbush Avenue, my soaked hoodie clinging like a second skin, the weight of my phone in my pocket a ticking bomb. One unread text from Dad that could shatter everything. "Come home, son. We need to talk about the wedding." The wedding. Sarah's wedding. My fiancé's wedding. The one I'd been lying to myself about for 3 years. And then, in the blur of headlights, I collided with him, solid, unyielding, like fate had thrown a curveball I couldn't dodge. His arms steadied me before I hit the pavement, strong hands gripping my elbows with a firmness that sent an unwelcome jolt through my chest. "Whoa! Easy there, cowboy," he said, his voice low and gravelly, laced with that easy Midwestern drawl that cut through the storm like a lifeline. Close. He smelled of cedar and rain, his dark curls plastered to a forehead etched with concern, eyes the color of storm clouds locking onto mine. I mumbled an apology, yanking free, but he didn't let go right away. His touch lingered, electric, forbidden. In that split second, as thunder cracked overhead, I knew this stranger had just cracked open the door to the truth I'd buried deeper than my own grave. I shook him off and bolted into the nearest doorway, a faded sign above reading Harbor Sanctuary Spa, the kind of hole-in-the-wall joint that promised cheap escapes from the city's grind. The bell above the door jingled like a death knell, and there he was again, shaking water from his jacket, turning to me with a half-smile that twisted the knife. "Fancy meeting you here," he drawled, as if we'd planned this collision. The receptionist, a bored woman with neon nails, glanced up. "Massage? $30 for an hour. He's our guy tonight." She nodded at him. Him. The stranger who'd just saved me from becoming roadkill. And as he extended a hand, calloused, warm, steady, I felt the world tilt. "Name's Riley. Let's get you sorted." The waiting room was a dim cocoon of incense and soft jazz, the kind that whispered promises it couldn't keep. I sank into a threadbare armchair, peeling off my hoodie to reveal the crisp button-down I'd worn to Sarah's final dress fitting that afternoon, white as a surrender flag. My hands trembled as I texted her back. Running late. Traffic. Lies upon lies, stacking like the brownstones outside. Riley disappeared behind a beaded curtain, his broad shoulders filling the frame, and I hated how my gaze lingered. 32 years old, a rising architect in a firm that built glass towers for men who owned the skyline, and here I was, unraveling over a near miss with a guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a Hemingway novel, rugged, real, utterly out of place in my polished chaos. "Alex!" His voice pulled me back. He stood in the doorway, towel draped over one shoulder, wearing a simple black tee that hugged the lines of his chest like it was painted on. "Your turn. Back room's ready." I followed, the floorboards creaking under my sneakers, each step echoing the thud of my pulse. The massage room was intimate, almost too much so. A single table swathed in white sheets, candles flickering on a side table, the air thick with eucalyptus that clawed at my throat. "Climb on up," he said, gesturing with that disarming grin. "Face down, if you don't mind. Just relax. World's not ending tonight." If only he knew. I stripped to my waist, folding my shirt neatly on the chair, habit from a childhood of pressed collars and unspoken expectations, and lay prone, the paper crinkling beneath me like brittle bones. The door clicked shut, sealing us in. His footsteps padded closer, and then his hands were there, warm oil first, then pressure, thumbs digging into the knots along my spine with a precision that bordered on mercy. "Rough day?" he murmured, voice close enough that I felt his breath on my neck. I grunted non-committally, burying my face in the headrest, willing my body to stay neutral. But it betrayed me. The way my muscles uncoiled under his touch, the heat pooling low in my gut like molten regret. He worked in silence at first, methodically, from shoulders to lower back. Each stroke unraveling threads I'd wound tight since college. Since that one drunken night with my roommate that I'd chalked up to experimentation and never spoken of again. Dad's voice echoed in my head. Be a man, Alex. Build something solid. Solid like the family firm, like the engagement ring burning a hole in my desk drawer. Sarah was perfect, kind, ambitious, the girl who'd make Mom's bridge club swoon. But as Riley's fingers traced the ridge of my scapula, something fractured. A sigh escaped me, involuntary. He paused. You carry a lot, don't you? Like you're holding up the whole damn skyline. I lifted my head, twisting to meet his eyes. They were softer now, searching, framed by lashes spiked with humidity. You have no idea, I whispered, the words slipping out like a confession. He didn't flinch, didn't pull away. Instead, his hand rested flat on my back, an anchor in the storm. Try me, he said simply. And God help me, I did. Halting at first, then in a rush, the wedding jitters, the family pressure, the gnawing void I'd ignored for years. Not the whole truth, not yet, but enough to feel the damn crack. He listened, nodding, his touch never straying beyond professional. Yet it felt like more, like salvation. By the time the hour ended, the rain had eased to a drizzle, and I was sitting up, shirt half-buttoned, staring at him like he'd handed me a map to a country I'd only dreamed of. That'll be 30, he said, but his eyes said something else. Stay, talk, don't run. I paid with a crumpled 20 and a 10, our fingers brushing in the exchange. And that spark again, undeniable. You ever need another session, he added, scribbling on a card. Harbor's open late. I'm here most nights. Riley Harlan. It read. Physical therapist by trade. Wanderer by soul, Chicago roots. Brooklyn transplant. Chasing waves and whatever came after. Pocketed it. Heart hammering. Thanks, Riley. For everything. Outside, the city hummed back to life. Cabs splashing through puddles. Neon bleeding into the gutters. I walked home to my loft in Dumbo. Exposed brick. Floor-to-ceiling views of the bridge. The kind of place that screamed success but echoed with emptiness. And collapsed onto the couch. Sarah's throw pillows mocking me. My phone buzzed. Her. Excited about cake samples. Can't wait for tomorrow's rehearsal. Tomorrow. The lie I'd lived through. One more time. But as I drifted off, Riley's hands ghosted over my skin. And for the first time in years, sleep came not as escape, but as a promise. The next morning dawned crisp. The East River glittering like it held all the secrets of the night. I showered off the remnants of oil and regret, the steam fogging the mirror where my reflection stared back. Dark circles under hazel eyes, jaw set in that perpetual line of determination. Breakfast was black coffee and a protein bar, wolfed down at the drafting table where blueprints for a midtown high-rise waited, all sharp angles and unyielding steel. Work was my fortress, the firm a legacy Dad had clawed from the 80s crash. Harlan and Sons, no relation to Riley. Thank God, where I was the golden boy, the one who'd marry well and seal the partnerships. But as I rode the subway uptown, packed shoulder to shoulder with strangers, Riley's card burned in my wallet. I pulled it out, thumb tracing the embossed letters, and before I could talk myself out of it, texted the number scrawled on the back. Hey, it's Alex from last night. Any openings this week? Could use a tune-up. Sent. pulse racing like I just pitched a billion-dollar deal. His reply came mid-transfer at Union Square. Thursday, 8 p.m. Life's throwing curveballs. Let's straighten him out. A winking emoji. Casual. Safe. Or so I told myself. The week blurred. Client lunches at Per Se, where power suits and power plays drowned out the ache. Evenings with Sarah. Her laughter light as we strolled Central Park. Hand in hand. Her head on my shoulder feeling more like a yoke by the day. She was everything right. Blonde waves. Editor at The Atlantic. The girl who'd challenge me over wine about urban sprawl versus green spaces. You're distant lately, she said Friday night, over takeout Thai in her West Village walk-up. The wedding stress? I nodded, forcing a smile, kissing her forehead. Just the usual. You know me, overthinker. She bought it, curling into me on the couch. But as her breathing evened into sleep, I stared at the ceiling, Riley's text glowing on my phone under the blanket. Thursday arrived like a thief, stealing my focus during a site visit in Chelsea. The crew ribbed me about wedding bells as we toured the skeletal frame of a condo tower. Don't trip over the aisle, boss. And I laughed it off. But inside, the countdown ticked. 8 o'clock found me back at Harbor Sanctuary, the spa's neon sign buzzing like a hive. Riley was waiting, sleeves rolled to his elbows, forearms corded with veins that spoke of manual labor and open roads. Right on time, he said, clapping my shoulder. Brotherly, but the contact lingered in my veins. Rough week. You could say that. We settled into the routine, me face down again, his hands mapping the tension I'd carried since dawn. But this time, conversation flowed freer. His stories of surfing the Great Lakes as a kid, ditching a desk job in Cheetown for the pull of the Atlantic. Mine of growing up in the shadow of the firm, Dad's Vietnam scars turning him into a drill sergeant of ambition. Sounds like you're building someone else's dream, he observed, thumbs circling a knot below my ribs. I tensed, then exhaled. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just scared to build my own. He chuckled. Soft. Fear's a hell of a architect. Designs prisons we call homes. Silence fell, heavy with implication. And when he asked me to flip over for the front, if you're good, I hesitated, heart slamming. But I did. Sheet draped modest across my hips, eyes fixed on the ceiling tiles. His touch shifted then, lighter on my collarbone, deliberate. Our gazes met, and in that suspended breath, the air thickened. Alex, he said, voice roughened, you don't have to carry it alone. His hand stilled on my chest, over the wild drum of my heart. I swallowed, the room shrinking to just us, the flicker of candlelight on his jaw, the unspoken question hanging like smoke. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was me, reaching up to trace the line of his arm. Maybe him, leaning in with a gentleness that belied his build. Our lips met tentative, then fierce, a dam breaking after years of drought. It wasn't fire, but flood. Salty with unshed tears, hands clutching like lifelines. When we broke apart, gasping, his forehead pressed to mine. I've wanted that since the rain, he admitted, breath mingling. Me too, I thought, but the words stuck, choked by the ring waiting in my drawer, the vows I'd rehearsed in mirrors. Instead, I pulled him closer, letting the kiss say what fear wouldn't. We didn't cross lines that night. No frantic undressing, no rush to claim what simmered. Just that, kisses traded like secrets, his fingers threading through my hair, my palm flat against the steady rise of his chest. Come for coffee tomorrow, he murmured against my temple. No tables, no sheets, just us. I nodded, dazed, dressing with hands that shook. Outside, The Brooklyn night wrapped around me, stars pricking the smog like distant hopes. Home was a ghost town, Sarah at a work event, and I lay awake, replaying the taste of him, the terror of it all. This was no dalliance. This was detonation. Friday's rehearsal dinner loomed like a guillotine, but first, coffee. I met Riley at a hole-in-the-wall on Atlantic Avenue, the kind with mismatched mugs and chalkboard menus scrawled in hipster cursive. He was there early, nursing an Americano, legs stretched under the table in faded jeans that hugged him just right. "You came," he said, standing to hug me, casual to any onlooker, but his hand splayed warm on my back, thumb brushing the dip of my spine. We talked for hours. Architecture versus the organic chaos of waves, the hypocrisy of city life, the raw ache of wanting what society deemed wrong. His laugh was a rumble, eyes crinkling, and when our knees knocked under the table, neither pulled away. By noon, we were walking the promenade, the Manhattan skyline taunting across the water. My world, his horizon. He stopped at a bench overlooking the river, hands slipping into mine, hidden from view. "Tell me about her," he said softly. "The fiancé." The question gutted me, but his grip steadied. I spilled it all, the setup via mutual friends, the comfort of routine, the slow suffocation. "It's not her," I finished, voice cracking. "It's me. Hiding." He squeezed my fingers. "Then stop. Build your own foundation, Alex. One that holds you up, not crushes you." His words echoed through the afternoon haze as I dressed for the dinner. Tuxedo crisp, tie knotted like a noose. Sarah glowed in emerald silk. Her arm looped through mine as we entered the ballroom at the plaza. Crystal chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. Family and friends toasted futures I couldn't envision. Dad's proud clap on my back. "Son, you're making us all proud." Mom's teary hug. "She's perfect for you." But across the room, my phone vibrated. A text from Riley. "Thinking of you. Be brave." I deleted it, guilt gnawing, yet slipped out to the balcony for air. The city sprawl a glittering lie below. That's when she found me. Sarah, slipping her hand into mine. "Alex, what's wrong? You've been elsewhere." Her eyes searched, vulnerable, and my chest caved. "I love you," I started, the words ash on my tongue. "But not like that. Not the way you deserve." The confession tumbled out in fragments. The confusion, the awakening, Riley's name unspoken but implied in the tears streaking her mascara. She didn't scream, didn't flee, just held me tighter, whispering. I knew something was off. I thought it was cold feet. We stood there, two people untangling a knot we'd both ignored, the party murmur fading to white noise. By midnight, she was gone. Back to her apartment, ring left on the dresser like a discarded dream. I wandered the streets, numb, until my feet carried me to Harbor Sanctuary. Closed, but Riley's truck idled out front, headlights cutting the dark. He stepped out, concern etching his face. Saw the news on Insta, rehearsals off? You okay? I collapsed against him, sobs racking, and he held me there on the sidewalk, under the indifferent stars. "No," I gasped. "But maybe with you, I could be." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of reconstruction. Cancellations, conversations, the firm's raised eyebrows smoothed over with vague personal matters. Dad's call was the hardest. Voice gravel over the line. "You throwing it all away for what, son?" Some phase. I stood firm. For once, not a phase. Dad. Me. The real me. Click. Silence stretched. Then a grudging. "We'll talk when you're ready." Progress, jagged as it was, Riley became my compass. Mornings at his cramped apartment in Bed-Stuy. Sun streaming through blinds, coffee brewing as he sketched surfboard designs on napkins. Afternoons tangled in sheets, not with urgency, but with the quiet exploration of souls. His fingers tracing the freckles on my chest, my head on his thigh as he read Kerouac aloud, voice weaving dreams of road trips we'd chase come summer. We were tentative at first, dinners at dive bars where his knee pressed mine under formica tables, walks in Prospect Park where stolen kisses hid behind oaks. But the depth grew, roots delving deep. His vulnerability over a bonfire on Coney Island Beach, confessing the ex who'd left him for normalcy. The fear of loving too fiercely. My nights of panic, when the weight of judgment pressed, and he'd pull me close, murmuring, "You're my harbor, Alex," steady as she goes. It felt like building blueprints of us, line by line. He met my friends first, over beers at McCarran Park. Jake, the sarcastic graphic designer, clapping Riley's back with a grin. Finally, a guy who doesn't talk spreadsheets. Sarah, gracious in her grace, joined us for brunch at Five Leaves. Her new spark, a colleague named Mia, lighting her from within. "Hurt me, but don't hide," she'd said that first awkward coffee post-breakup. I didn't. With Riley, I was open, the architect who designed not towers, but homes, lofts with views of each other, walls that breathed, but shadows loomed. Whispers at the firm heard he's, might tank the family image. A client pulled a bid, citing cultural fit. Dad's emails turned curt, invitations to holiday galas revoked. And Riley, his past caught up in fragments. A letter from Chicago, forwarded, yellowed at the edges. "Miss you," or "still waiting for that second chance." Toby. I found it tucked in his guitar case, unread, and jealousy flared, not hot, but cold, insidious. "Who's he?" I asked that night, over takeout falafel on his fire escape, the city humming below. He sighed, setting down his fork. "Old flame. Toxic one. Left when I came out. Haven't spoken in years, but doubt seeded, watered by my own insecurities. The conflict crested in autumn, leaves turning the parks to fire. We'd planned a weekend getaway, upstate to the Catskills, a cabin Riley's buddy lent, stocked with wood and wine. En route, my phone rang, "Dad, unfiltered. Saw your little friend on your feed. This is how you honor your mother." After everything, the words sliced, and I pulled over on a shoulder lined with maples, engine ticking cool. Riley waited, patient, but when I hung up, voice hollow. "Give me time, Dad." Something snapped. "Why fight them?" he asked softly, hand on my knee. "For what? A legacy that never accepted you." Anger boiled, not at him, but the truth in it. "Because it's mine too, and you're asking me to burn it all for this?" I gestured wildly between us, the car a cage. He recoiled, eyes storm dark. "This? That's what I am to you?" Some phase 2.0. The drive soured, silence thick as fog rolling off the Hudson. At the cabin, we unpacked in parallel universes. Me chopping wood with futile swings, him strumming guitar by the fire, melodies mournful. Night fell, and so did the walls. "I love you," I blurted, dropping the axe, splintered handle forgotten. "But it terrifies me. What if it's not enough?" He crossed the porch in 2 strides, cupping my face. "It is. But only if you choose it." We made love then, not the frenzied kind, but slow, reverent. Bodies aligning like keystones, breaths sinking in the firelight. Dawn found us entwined, the fight a scar, not a severance. Yet betrayal brewed, insidious. Back in the city, Toby resurfaced. Not a letter, but in flesh, at a gallery opening in Williamsburg, where Riley's surf art hung, raw waves captured in acrylic fury. I arrived late, threading the crowd of tattoos and ironic mustaches, only to freeze at the sight. Riley cornered by a lean man with sharp cheekbones and a smile like shattered glass. Toby, laughing too close, hand on Riley's arm, the one that lingered. I watched, gut twisting, as Riley shrugged him off, but not before a whisper, a nod, something intimate. When he spotted me, his face lit, but the damage rooted. Confrontation came over midnight slices at a 24-hour diner, fluorescent buzz underscoring the ache. He's nothing, Riley insisted, syrup pooling untouched. Tried to apologize, that's all. But photos surfaced days later, an anonymous email to the firm. Grainy shots of us kissing in the park. Time-stamped, with Toby's watermark faint in the corner. Betrayal, double-edged, his ex, weaponized by old wounds, dragging our private world into public shrapnel. The fallout was swift, partners summoning me to the glass-walled conference room. Dad's voice on speaker, "Fix this, Alex, or you're out." Riley, blindsided, raged in my loft. He knew. Toby knew about us. Followed me from Chicago. The thrill of our secret love curdled to paranoia. Every shadow a suspect. Climax shattered on a sleet-lashed November night. I'd stormed Toby's hotel in Midtown. Concierge-paid luxury mocking his venom. Pounding the door until it yielded. He answered in a silk robe, smirk curling. "The architect. Come to build a case." Words flew. Accusations. Please. The raw hurt of violation. "You had your chance with him," I snarled. "Why poison what's good?" His laugh was bitter gin. "Because Riley's mine. Always was. You're playing house in Daddy's shadow." The punch landed, mine. Wild. Splitting his lip. Security hauled me out. Badge flashing. The lobby a whirl of stairs. Riley found me blocks away. Slumped on a bench. Knuckles raw. Soul raw. "What did you do?" Horror in his eyes. Not anger, fear. "For me," I confessed. The violence a mirror to the fractures I'd ignored. "I couldn't let him take you." He knelt, rain mingling with my tears. "He can't. But this fighting shadows like Dad fights you, it's the same cage." In that moment, clarity cracked through. Love wasn't possession, but release. We drove to the bridge, Brooklyn's span arching like a vow, and talked till dawn. Plans fracturing, reforming. "Go back to the firm," he said finally. "Fight from inside. I'll wait." But no more hiding. The betrayal's echo faded slow. Toby vanished, restraining order. A quiet payout to bury the photos. But scars lingered. Dad's olive branch. A stiff lunch at Delmonico's, where apologies came wrapped in conditions. "Be discreet, son. For the family." I pushed back. Gentle. "Or accept me. As is. Progress. Inch by inch." The firm held. I designed a queer youth center in Harlem. Pro bono. Walls of glass to let light in. Riley's art sold. Waves crashing into hearts. And we moved in together. His truck backed with boxes into my loft. Our lives merging like rivers to sea. Winter thawed to spring. And on a cherry blossom-choked afternoon in the Botanic Garden, he proposed not with diamonds, but a surfboard keychain. Engraved, "Ride the wave with me." I said yes. Knees in the grass. Laughter bubbling through tears. The wedding was small, Brooklyn waterfront. Sarah as best woman. Jake officiating with jokes that eased the nerves. Dad came, arm stiff but present. Mom dabbing eyes with a handkerchief monogrammed ANS. No. wait, and are now. Humanistic, the vows. Not perfection, but perseverance. Not erasure, but embrace. Years later, as we watched our adopted son chase fireflies in the upstate yard, the cabin ours now, expanded with my blueprints, I trace Riley's knuckles, scarred from boards and life, and whisper thanks for that rainy night. The shift I'd feared? It wasn't destruction. It was dawn.